So much to dive into here as PJ Zuko mutes his laptop here on a Monday afternoon. Christian Gokel alongside Cam Ursery and the aforementioned PJ Zuko off to a rip-roaring start here. That's always kind of stunning to me. Like, it literally takes me aback. I have to kind of power through it. It's when I hear my own voice right back at me.
It's always stunning to me too, because like we have this
Listen, it's my bad.
we have this laptop here with you got like the it's like a
fancy.
light up. It's like a light up touch screen on the bottom. And I'm like, every time I'm like, where is it? And it's got to light up
Pro
first.
Life.
And then like you got to like press it 3 times because I don't press it in the right spot. Like, dude, the boomer in me is just like, what is going on?
It's that MacBook Pro Life. I don't know if it's boomer or geriatric millennial.
I think that's probably a better way to describe it, but I don't know. I just learned what geriatric meant like 2 months ago. So I mean,
wait, like you actually learned like what the term geriatric meant 2 months ago?
It's one of those things that like you learn and then I just never heard it used. I didn't hear it used ever for like forever. And then someone said it and I was like, okay, with the big words. And like, what do you mean? What do you mean big word? You don't know what that means? I'm just like, no one ever says geriatric.
Huh.
Like, yeah, I just don't hear it all the time. Sorry, I didn't know what it meant off the top of my head. But now, like, I've heard it more in the past 2 months for whatever reason. Maybe I'm just hanging out with you too much. I don't know. Like, I've heard it more in the past 2 months than I have probably the 20 whatever years before that.
Well, it makes me happy. I'm glad we can educate here on the show. We'll start doing a word of the day. We'll keep adding to Cam's movie list.
Yes, yeah.
and we'll start doing a word of the day. I do have a question for you because I watched a movie over the weekend that I've seen.
Oh, no.
Actually, I have 2 questions. Because there's like certain movies I put on while I'm cleaning if I see they're on, because I have like all the subscriptions: Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime.
Same here. Yeah.
And there's certain movies that I'll put on while I'm cleaning. So like, look, you know what? I've seen this before. I can listen to this in the background while I'm cleaning, and I won't let it distract me. And then I end up just like sitting down and watching the movie.
Yes.
Which I realize sports are the best for cleaning, like golf or baseball, anything like that's the best for cleaning. Because movies, I just get sucked in. Tombstone. Watched Tombstone over the weekend, and so the first question is, Cam, have you seen Tombstone?
No.
I mean, what?
I told you guys I don't watch.
PJ, have you watched Tombstone from front to back? Like, have you seen the whole movie?
I think front to back, I've seen it like once.
Let's see.
I've seen it probably 2 or 3 times. The other 2 times kind of in passing. I don't know. I'm not a big, like, I see all the actors in it and everything like that, and I'm just like, man, I'm sure if I was like about that style of movie, I would love that, but it's just not really my style. I don't know.
You don't like Westerns?
I'm not a big Western guy, no.
Wow. All right, well, that hurts. Second question, then, moving off of the fact that both of y'all are just kind of crapping on my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies ever.
I'm not crapping on it. There's just,
like,
I'm sure,
insanely quotable movie. But second question is, if you had to quote like 80% of a movie, gun to your head, 80% of a movie, which movie are you quoting?
That's a problem. Is like I got memory.
Like, I'll say this: I will give you the benefit of you get to watch the movie as you say the lines. It's kind of like singing a song. It's hard to just do it raw.
Okay.
But if like the song's going, you can sing the lyrics with it. You can watch the movie, but you have to say the words with the movie as it goes.
Oh,
you get
man.
80% of them.
Yeah.
I could easily do Harry Potter, even though that's long.
Really? Which one?
You, all of them.
So wait, so we're saying, hey, we just need you to do one movie, 80%. You're like, line up all 8 of the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, I could do that. I literally watch
so you're
it
doing
that
like
much.
the Ron, no.
Yes, I could do all of that.
I'll go and you can check the king, or like whatever they say. So you can do all that.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
That's incredible.
Which one would you go with, PJ?
Well, with me, like you get an insight of how like incredible I am as a moviegoer and whatnot, and what it's probably a Will Ferrell movie, to be honest with you.
Fair.
Like just one of the silly, like dumb ones. Like
that's fair
because I don't know. There's
just say what it is. It's Talladega Nights. Come on.
It's either Talladega Nights or Anchorman, and honestly, I might go Anchorman. Like I'd probably go Anchorman. Like that was one of the. Ooh. Superbad might be in there though too.
Really?
Superbad, yeah. Because I that's one of those movies that I love, even the like the tiny like lines that not a lot of people think about. And so, like, God, that's it's got to be the fastest kid in the world.
It's like a gazelle.
Yeah.
All right. So transitioning off of Talladega Nights and segueing quickly to sports. everybody's freaking out on Twitter about what happened with AJ Allmendinger in NASCAR.
Right.
And you are a resident NASCAR expert. So 30 seconds on what happened this weekend in NASCAR.
NASCAR raced their 6th road course of the year, which they should not have that many road courses.
Wow.
They did it on a track that was, I don't think, constructed very well with the kind of curbs that they had for NASCARs to be going over as repetitively as they do. The drivers need to try and stay on the track a little bit more. And respect each other. I believe respect each other, on the track and not like I'm right there with every classic NASCAR fan that's like, listen, Rubbin's racing, get after it, man, just full send, do it. And I'm fine with that. But there's also a part of the race where you just got to race, and respect the room that other people are trying to give you, or like
because you don't
give them.
see
so,
that in other forms of racing, right? Like Formula One, you don't see that.
You had IndyCars on the track this weekend. That was one of the coolest things is IndyCar and NASCAR were both there, having separate races. And while there were, 1 or 2 incidences with a part of the track that NASCAR had trouble with, there was only 1 or 2, and they weren't as massive as the NASCAR ones, because the IndyCar guys were like, all right, we need to respect, we need to give each other a little bit more space here. And
so you're saying there's times to push it and there's times to just kind of take where you're at.
There's also times to not like force each other off the track and things like that, especially when there's a part of the track that's pretty dangerous. And it's not all on the drivers though. NASCAR and Race Command did a very poor job of executing the race itself, executing when to call cautions, when not to, when to adjust the racetrack and when not to. It got to a point where I was talking to you about this. It got to a point where there was a pretty big wreck. And a lot of the times with road courses, NASCAR's like, listen, if there's a spin out or something like that and they get going again, we're going to try and not have a full course caution. There was a part in the race where someone went over the curb broke, and you saw pieces.
They broke the track.
Pieces flying off the car and off of the curb itself. It was a Martin Truex Jr. spin, and very obvious debris on the track, which is very dangerous for the next time you go over that part in the race. They didn't call a caution, which just is embarrassing in my eyes and just negligent in my eyes as well. So the next time they went over that part of the track, 4 different cars went over that curb, broke a piece of their car, spun out. Joey Logano went nose first into a tire barrier, which thank goodness that wasn't a cement wall, right? Because that obviously would have been massive carnage and problems. And all that could have been fixed if you just call the caution on the first one. So a lot of instances like that, and then a lot of mayhem late in the race as well when you talk about the finish. So just poorly executed in my mind. I don't think they could never go back there again, but poorly executed by the drivers, more so by NASCAR though. And it got to a point where they removed a curb at one point, and the fans, the crowd at the track were cheering because they were changing a part of the racetrack that was causing so many issues. So like fans that enjoy a little bit of mayhem, like
there's a difference between mayhem and just like you're not doing something correctly.
Exactly.
So I'm assuming you guys will be covering this in full detail on the next edition of Green, White, and Checkered.
No doubt. Yeah. Sunday, 9 to 9:30. So be on the lookout for that.
There you go. And again, so much to dive into today. Big news coming out of Athens in terms of JT Daniels. We've heard about Bryce Young and his 6-7 figure deals. Apparently JT Daniels is the next SEC quarterback in line for that kind of money. So we'll dive into that here in a little while. Also, Eric Gilbert in the news over the weekend, not currently with the Georgia football team. We'll catch up with Brooks Austin from Dogs Daily on SI.com coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. Get the latest on that situation. Could Georgia be down a pass catcher when they take on Clemson on September 4th? But guys, locally, Atlanta Braves sweep the Washington Nationals over the weekend. Ozzie Albies homered in 4 straight games heading into Saturday. And Dansby Swanson has homered in the past 3 games. He actually had 4 home runs during the series, 9 RBIs for Swanson. And all of a sudden, I was kind of looking at the WAR, the wins against replacement for a lot of these guys. And I don't know. I was curious to get y'all's thoughts. If you had to guess where do you feel like the outfield for the Atlanta Braves ranks in WAR? Wins above replacement.
Well, I mean, since
Not since, just all year.
just all year, okay,
All year, middle of the pack.
that's kind of. I mean,
They ranked last in left field,
yeah,
third from last in center field. And I believe just because Ronald Acuna Jr. played
yeah,
as many at bats as he had, they're not completely on the floor
Mm-hmm.
in right field.
right,
And then when you go to catcher, it's dead last.
yeah,
And so when I'm
Not
looking at
surprising,
who's been carrying this team, surprisingly, a few different positions. They are fourth in wins above replacement with the pitching staff
yeah.
in Major League Baseball. I
Wow.
don't think many people would have guessed that.
No,
And then when you start looking through the infield, and again, this is including the entire season, nobody outside the top 10 in the infield. So Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson. I think Dansby, I might have to correct myself. I think Dansby is outside the top 10. He's right at even in
Yeah.
terms of wins above replacement, but I think a lot of that is strikeouts for him. And his last few months have been unbelievable. But Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, and Austin Riley all in the top 10 in wins above replacement. Only 3 other teams can say that, Houston and LA being a couple of those, and they have just insane infields. I believe the Padres were the other one inside of that. But this infield with Freddie Freeman, who was struggling at the beginning of the year, Ozzie Albies has pretty much been hanging around about 260 all season, but Dansby Swanson has turned it on. And then Austin Riley, if you just look at the stats over the past month, is the best third baseman in baseball.
right,
So all of a sudden, this infield is carrying the team. But I think the most surprising thing I saw from that is the starting pitching. And it shouldn't be that surprising when you go back and look at what they've done.
right.
Drew Smiley's winning a bunch of baseball games. I think, Max Fried just got his 10th win over the weekend. So
sure.
playing really good baseball. And now Cam alone in first place in the NL East with a 1-game lead on the Phillies.
Yeah, I remember a month ago I was quoted saying, "I just don't think they'll make the playoffs." Last week I said they'll get the division lead, but I mean they're 10-2 in their last 12, so they've been on a roll. But
They're the hottest team in baseball right now.
yeah, hottest team in baseball, man, and they got another like smooth stretch coming up against the Marlins and then Orioles.
The Orioles, yeah, you gotta win these next 2 series because it gets real tough after that.
You gotta take advantage of this. We could talk about the Braves being 4 or 5 games ahead of the Phillies and the Mets when it's all said and done. Maybe about 7 games ahead of the Mets. The Mets are just going downhill, but I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Braves. I feel like they'll win this division.
And PJ, as much as we want to talk about the additions, and listen, I respect what Guillermo Heredia has done, but put Jock Peterson in center field and forget about it.
Yep.
The additions have been great, but really it's been the guys who have been here all season and that starting staff that have really stepped up. Charlie Morton all of a sudden has become your ace. Drew Smiley has been unbelievable. Max Fried, I think he's hitting over 340 right now.
Wild.
He had another double and he had a sacrifice bunt in his last start. He's been great. And you're waiting for Ian Anderson. Him and Huascar Ynoa kind of got roughed up in their first outings in AAA as they were trying to work on their rehabilitation stint down there in AAA. They both got roughed up, but it was their first outing. So probably expect them back relatively soon. But starting pitching and an MVP level infield carrying this team.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, you can talk about what you want with the additions and things like that. But you look at the people who have kept this team afloat. It's been exactly those guys and just doing a great job. And like you said, hopefully Dansby Swanson can keep this role going that he's on as well. But yeah, absolutely. It's been great to see. I think about a month and a half ago or so that there was a little bit of a lull from the starting pitching. But other than that, it's been incredible for most of the year. And really any kind of questions that you talk about with the pitching has come from that back end of the bullpen. And now, finally, hopefully getting that solidified moving forward as well. But yeah, like you said, the infield as a whole, catcher, aside from the catcher this year, has all been really extremely solid. And now I think we're seeing more and more with those additions and with the changes. I mean, you think about where we were when Acuna went down. We it kind of a gut punch for everybody, and like, can this happen? The moves and the additions were crucial to me to get things turned around and start this momentum and really just give a spark for the rest of the team, because you can rely on those guys in the infield and in the starting pitching, obviously.
Yeah.
But to have that little bit of help in there with them has
To
made
not
all
just
the
have
difference.
just to not have the worst outfield in baseball anymore, right?
Exactly. Just like that's all you need.
And
You
you had
be
a,
okay.
you had
right?
a AAA outfield for a big part of the season.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you have major leaguers out there, and it's not the worst. And all of a sudden you start winning baseball games because almost half of your lineup isn't atrocious. I mean, they're good in the field, like they can play some defense, but it was not getting it done at the plate.
So, do you guys see this team as kind of, I don't want to say this, but like a contender, like a team that can actually make some noise in the playoffs?
I think they could win a series.
Okay, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, I think they could win a series. They're not on some of these
Dodgers,
like the
Giants.
Dodgers. They're not on that level. They just you got to be able to go blow for blow. Like look what happened with the Dodgers last year.
Yeah.
Like literally every single person 1 through 8
Yeah.
can flip the game. And right now you're just not at that. But some Drew Smiley criticism here in the chat says Smiley has been bad 65% of the year. Looking at his last 13 starts, he hasn't given up more than 3 runs in any of them.
His win-loss is pretty good too.
Well, he's
So I'll
8-3 on the season right now. But again,
pretty good.
if I send my starting pitcher out there and he only gives up 3 runs, I'm okay with that. It's not great. It's not elite, but it's keeping you in the game.
Yeah.
You were in the game when your starter goes out. And so, 4.5 ERA, fine. But the fact is, you could put him in for 5-6 innings. I've said this before. If I'm Brian Snitker, I'm not letting him go through the order a third time. I don't care where you're at. And pitch count, which inning you're in, I'm not letting Drew Smiley go through the order a third time. But he is a starter in your rotation that you can send out there every 5th day. And inside of his start, the max he's given up is 3 runs in the last 13 games. There's a bunch of 2-run, 1-run, and 0-run games in there as well. So I'm taking that in a lineup that's had to rotate through Bryce Wilson. You've had to put what's his name, Mueller in there.
Yeah.
There's been a bunch of different guys. Kyle Wright has come through there. If I have Drew Smiley, I can plug him in and say, go 4 or 5, keep me in the ball game, and then I can get to the bullpen. That's fine. There's a lot of teams out there that would take that right now. And again, you're waiting for a couple of guys to get healthy. Ian Anderson and Huascar Ynoa should be getting back soon. But I think Drew Smiley's earned his spot in that rotation. I don't see him going anywhere. So all of a sudden you go Charlie Morton, Max Fried, Drew Smiley, Huascar Ynoa, Ian Anderson.
That's pretty tough.
I mean, Tukey's been pretty hit or miss, but I mean, when he's on, he's on.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So I think that's something you can rock with. But in terms of making noise in the playoffs, I don't know if I'm buying that yet. I think they can win a series just because of the pitching. And I think Ozzie Albies and Freddie Freeman and Austin Riley can carry a team. But making noise, like getting back to NLCS, I think that's a tall order. We got to take a quick break, though. We'll come back, talk college football next, right here on Second Down. Which performance was less impressive, the Atlanta Falcons preseason or just Tim Tebow as a whole?
I would say Tim Tebow because they've been hyping Tebow up for a while, and the Falcons had second, third strings in. So I do
Listen,
that.
I have zero problem with Tim Tebow. I have said this before. You guys can back me up. I think he is the greatest. I'm not going to say best, but I think the greatest college quarterback ever.
Most definitely.
Just in terms of what he accomplished. I mean, first sophomore to win a Heisman Trophy. Won two national championships. One as a backup, one as a starting quarterback.
Mhm.
Played in multiple SEC championships. Won every award you can think of. I mean, he won a playoff game before Matt Ryan did.
Yeah.
So I mean, Tim Tebow got all the respect in the world for Tim Tebow. You're not a tight end, my guy.
Nah.
And we've known this, and we started seeing videos get leaked out of practice where Tim Tebow is just kind of getting tossed around. And again, this is nothing against Tim Tebow, but you are stepping into, we call it, it kind of gets played a little bit, but we call it the trenches, right?
Mhm.
You're literally stepping into the trenches against guys who are fighting for their livelihoods, who have been doing this their entire lives.
Yeah.
Like, so you're going in as a guy who used to weigh 230 pounds, and so, put on 20 pounds of muscle, looking extra thick out there with 2 C's. I'm going to get in there. I'm Tim Tebow. I got a heart, man.
Yeah.
I got a heart. I'm going to get down there. That's fine. But when you're going up against 6'6", 300-pound dudes who run 4.5s and just sweep you aside like a rag doll, welcome to the NFL.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just it's such a different world. I mean, Tim Tebow grew up his entire life playing baseball and playing quarterback. He wasn't down there on the sled drills. He wasn't down there getting dirty with the offensive linemen, learning how to get his hands inside, keeping his feet moving, keeping those hips low. He wasn't doing any of that, and now he's getting exposed.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone should be surprised. If there's one area in sports where it's, look, heart ain't going to do it,
Right.
it's the line of scrimmage in the NFL.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's literally monsters down there. Like, this is probably a good thing for Tim Tebow's health, because what happens when he runs up against an Aaron Donald?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
Yep.
scary dude to run up against.
Well, I think it's good for everybody's mental health a little bit, and his health and his mental health, because like now, I mean, we can all stop questioning, or whoever was out there still questioning. Well, could he come back and do this or this? Could he? Like, no, he just can't. And it is what it is, like you said. But like, I think you made a ton of really good points there. And actually, we were talking about this before too. It's just like, one, you're coming. If he was doing this right out of college or something like that, maybe there's a little bit more of a chance for him to be able to work this out. But two, you're doing it now also at the highest level of football. It's not like you're going back and can learn. And three, I think right what you said there is the mentality of this whole thing. If you look at what Tebow, except for one of the clips that you see where he's just simply getting tossed out of the way when he goes to try and block someone, but the one block that's getting shown around where he pulls to the right side of the line and tries to, I guess, chip or block.
It's a seal block.
The defensive end.
It's a seal block. Yeah.
So like he goes over to do that, and technically, I guess I'm not a tight ends coach in the NFL. But technically, everything looks okay. Like everything looks right, and even the size of him, like he's put on a bunch of muscle and everything, and like
let's talk about the play. He motions to the left side just behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
They snap the ball, run a counter that's coming back the other way, and really more so than Tim Tebow blocking him, that defensive lineman is going to catch an earful from his coach. He just kind of flowed with the counter, so he went with the fake, and just kind of got washed, is what you call it. He got washed up, and Tim Tebow just happened to be there and be the body that kind of closed his eyes and quote unquote sealed that off. If Tim Tebow's not there, that guy's still going to that same spot.
Right.
That guy started cheating going that way. I think what tight end, what you want to see your tight end do in that situation is when he's coming back across the line, if that guy goes that way, great, push him with your arm. Just get that seal and then get up to the next level.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the NFL.
Right.
You're not blocking one person on the line of scrimmage. You're sealing that and then getting to a linebacker.
Yeah.
You're supposed to make that play. And then the very next play, it was the terrible one where I guess he did his assignment correctly, but just wasn't good enough because he gets into the linebacker / stand-up defensive end, whatever you want to call him. He gets into him. That guy just discards him like he's not there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of the grand scheme, like of what I was getting to is all of those guys out there, whether they're a first string or a fourth string, just trying to make the team, they have done this forever. Like they grew up doing this. It's imprinted in the back of their mind, even if they're learning new schemes and stuff like that. It's imprint the physical nature, the nature of that position is imprinted in their mind already. You're learning that just now, really. So Tim Tebow in his head, he's out there meticulous, like going through the offense. Okay, I did this. Okay, I did this right. But when it comes to the mentality of just your physical nature taking over and doing it, which we've seen Tim Tebow do so many times at the quarterback position and do very, very well in college, that's completely lost. So it's just like you said, those guys are on another level.
They're
and
on
now
the highest level.
We finally physically seen it in a preseason game, and it's very clear.
Well,
you should not be there.
I kind of hope, because I've said this before, like I wish at the Olympics they would have just like a regular person doing the event alongside the Olympian, so we could see how far
the difference.
how far ahead, just in terms of being actually human beings, they are than the normal people. Tim Tebow playing tight end shows us how difficult an actual, I'm sorry, Tim, I know you're like listed on the roster, but an actual tight end's job is.
Yeah.
And like how much we kind of take it for granted what they're able to do, because it's special, right? Those guys eat up defensive ends, and then the very next play, you're asking them to get open on linebackers and DBs.
Go over the middle, take a hit from that safety.
It's a very special position. That's why George Kittle's so good, is he blocks as good as most tackles in the NFL, but he's also as fast as a lot of wide receivers in the NFL. Just a freak.
Yeah.
Right? So just the jobs that they can do. And for the people who are like, well, Kyle Pitts can't block, go watch the Georgia game from last year and watch him eat up Azeez Ojulari, who was a second-round pick. And eat him up. One of the best rush defensive ends in the SEC. Kyle Pitts can block. Tim Tebow can't block.
Right.
And listen, it is amazingly difficult, and you see this a lot, to transition from wide receiver to DB.
Yep.
We see it happen a lot in college, where they go from wide receiver to DB just because you're the most athletic guy in high school. They have to get you the ball, so you're going to play wide receiver. We see you more as a DB, right? Happens all the time in college. It is so hard to do that in the pros. And those are two fairly similar positions, right? Require a fairly, I'm not saying they're the same, but fairly similar in the kind of physicality they require on the football field, right? And there's kind of a base understanding. You understand what a DB does if you're a wide receiver. If you're a DB, you understand what a wide receiver does, right?
Yeah.
There's a base understanding there, right? And it's still, when was the last time you really heard of a college wide receiver going to play DB and it really succeeding?
It's rare.
Or like flipping that. Or like when you have the college quarterback go play wide receiver.
Only person I can think, Braxton Miller.
Right. And then it's it's like Pat White coming out of West Virginia, one of the most athletic people you've ever seen. It's kind of okay as a wide receiver in the NFL. Armani Edwards out of App State.
Yeah. There's one in it. I'm sorry to do this again, but like it's only because he played at Penn State. But like Trevor Williams for Nittany Lion ended up transitioning to cornerback, and he's really the only one off the top of my head that can think of that made that transition and played in the NFL for 6 or 7 years. But like,
it's so hard to make that transition at like positions.
Yeah.
Now you're asking a guy who played quarterback, took almost a decade off.
Yeah.
And then came back to go and put his hand down on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
And go face to face with, and how old is he now? 30.
Oh man, got to be low
mid-30s.
Yeah, 32, 33, somewhere around. I think it was his birthday. I think it was his birthday on Saturday when he was getting blown up.
Right.
He's in his early 30s going up against, in a preseason
34 years old.
34 years old. A 34-year-old man going up against 21, 22-year-olds who are fighting for their lives.
Yeah. These are guys that's been playing this position their whole lives. He's just now starting to
But like some of the guys coming out are think about who he's going up against. Either rookies who are hungry who just got their taste of an NFL paycheck and they don't want to let that go, and they're playing against Tim Tebow in the third quarter, the first preseason game when no starters play.
Yeah.
Or an NFL vet who, as PJ said, has been doing this for probably 15, 20 years now at the highest level and is fighting to keeping a paycheck on his table.
And they also want to go at Tebow too. It's something.
I don't know that anybody harbors like ill will towards Tim Tebow, but if I'm a defensive end and I have to make a play and you're putting Tim Tebow on me, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
Absolutely.
Like that's disrespectful.
And you're going to
hell.
show that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what happened. He got tossed around, and it's not his fault. Right? I mean, so much credit to him. I would be genuinely horrified to put my hand in the dirt and have to go up face to face against those mutants.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are. 6'6" and run a 4.4, 4.5. You're not supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's who he's having to go up against. I mean, credit to him for doing that, but it's
Sometimes though,
the
like
experiment's been fun. Maybe he can be a long snapper.
yeah,
But even that, like elite of the elite.
and to your,
Elite of the elite.
to your point, I mean, I don't mean this as like disrespectful, but like honestly, we put people in leadership positions and the decision making positions so that when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, this sounds really fun. I really really want to do this," or like your kid comes to you and is like, "Hey, Dad, I really really want to do this. It sounds really fun," and you're like, "That's extremely dangerous, and you're not old enough for it yet.
Yeah.
You're probably like your body isn't ready. You probably shouldn't do that." I'm looking at that as the Jags organization and Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow being like, "Hey, how about it, man? This could be really fun. Like, dude, you're gonna get hurt out here.
Yeah.
No. You probably shouldn't."
And I do want to take a quick
Instead
break.
they saw
We
those
got to come
dollars.
back and we're going to talk about the AP poll and JT Daniels NIL deal per Darren Ravel. But yeah, just if there's one person I think has a legitimate gripe or like a group of people, it's the running backs in the preseason who have to run behind Tim Tebow. You know how ticked
Right.
off I would be if you're looking at the game tape. You're like, what happened there? What happened? Like my man just got crushed down inside to where I was supposed to be running. Like literally couldn't stick anybody. At least just create just stall out and just keep it in like neutral. Nah, just getting washed back. Like I
you have
think
an analyst. You have a TV
Yeah.
analyst trying
Yeah.
to be a tight end out there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You got a minor league baseball player lead blocking for me,
Yeah.
coach. The hell do you expect's going to happen? We got more to come. We'll come back, talk college football next. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. 2 different locations in Savannah to take care of all of your uniform needs. Guys, at noon, the AP poll was released. Surprising absolutely no one. Alabama number 1. I mean,
Whoa.
who would have thought it? Oklahoma comes in at number 2, Clemson number 3, Ohio State number 4, and Georgia rounds out the top 5. So pretty much officially, that September 4th matchup is going to be a top 5 matchup between Clemson and Georgia. Again, some mixed reports coming out of Athens around Eric Gilbert, the transfer tight end / wide receiver for Georgia, not practicing with the team. Kirby Smart issuing a statement saying he's dealing with some personal related issues. So wishing him the best and hoping he can get back with the team soon. There were some rumors circulating, just I guess when you have a guy who transfers to one school, never steps foot at that school, and then transfers to another school, as soon as you hear anything like this, the rumors are going to start circulating a little bit. We'll get the latest from Brooks Austin from Dogs Daily on SI.com. Coming up here in about 45 minutes. Also inside the top 10, I thought this was the most interesting one. Usually the hardest thing for a G5 school to get over is their initial rankings, right? They have to fight and claw typically to get inside the top 25. Yeah. And then from there, it's just a war of attrition. You have to win every game or you're not going to be inside the top 25 again. War of attrition from there, trying to climb the ranks. And then if you're lucky enough to go undefeated, you're like ranked 9th in the country and you get to go to a New Year's Six Bowl. Cincinnati is starting this season at number 8.
Oh, yeah.
And they have on the schedule right now 2 top 25 matchups. They play at Indiana and they play at Notre Dame in back-to-back games for them. There's a bye week that splits those, but that's back-to-back games for Cincinnati. I think if Cincinnati can win both of those games, because remember they have UCF and Memphis and other schools like that who could potentially be in the top 25 on the schedule. I think if Cincinnati wins those 2 football games and a couple of things fall their way, they have a legitimate path to the playoffs. So I think that's something to watch out of here. Being number 8 in the country at the start is a huge benefit for Luke Fickell and Desmond Ridder and those guys up there at Cincinnati. You know, Myjai Sanders at Camden County up there as probably going to be a first-round pick after the season on the defensive line there for Cincinnati. So I thought that was really interesting. Another college football story I wanted to hit here real quick. We heard just before SEC Media Days, Nick Saban started making a lot of noise. He was at a quarterbacks club meeting in Texas and kind of broke the news that, hey, Bryce Young, man, this whole NIL deal is pretty cool. He's already making over 7 figures, which is just Nick Saban playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers, right? That's Nick Saban recruiting a 2023 guy.
Absolutely.
2024 guy saying, your quarterback hasn't played yet and he's already made $1 million. Mom, throw all those other offers away. Just keep that Alabama one out. Yeah. I want that cheese. Thank you very much. Like if I'm a quarterback right now and I don't have to play and I can make $1 million, hell yeah, I'm going to Alabama.
Right.
So that was just Nick Saban being Nick Saban, but it's true. Bryce Young is making cheese right now. Apparently, JT Daniels is the next quarterback in the SEC to start hitting those kind of numbers. This is per Darren Ravel on Twitter. It says UGA quarterback JT Daniels has signed a 6-month exclusive NIL trading card deal that pays him $100 per signature. ESM, which is repping him, says with 50% royalties on signed and unsigned cards, it could reach 7 figures. So JT Daniels, and Ben makes this joke all the time. Who do you think is more famous in the state of Georgia? Starting quarterback at Georgia or Matt Ryan?
It's definitely UGA.
Like if you had JT Daniels or Jake Fromm walking down the sidewalk with Matt Ryan, who do you think more people are coming up to?
I think we've seen that. I mean, I think at one point the backup quarterback, a lot of times the backup quarterback for the University of Georgia is more popular than Matt Ryan. Yeah. I mean, I think we saw that at its peak with Justin Fields, but I think you even still see that more and more. So
I mean, last year JT Daniels, before he even took a snap, was probably the most popular player on Georgia's team.
He was one of the most obscure and talked about as well because he had the mystery as well of why isn't he on the field. So
now this next part I thought was pretty interesting too, because I think most people assume this is probably the last year we see JT Daniels there. So I don't know how much this is going to affect recruiting, but I mean, if you're talking about just team chemistry, I don't think team chemistry gets much better than this next sentence. He plans to share half his earnings with teammates.
Know what that means? He has plans on going to the league next year.
I think that means offensive line, they're selling out for my boy.
Yeah. Got
sure.
to now.
You got to keep them happy, right? what better way to keep them
Yeah.
happy? I mean,
You're
it
like,
is
hey,
what it is.
Kyrus, that was a hell of a catch. Here's some cheese. Appreciate that, my guy.
Here's some money, man.
What the only thing that could be better than that is if he does that and then he looks at him and he's like, listen, next deal I get, if it has anything to do with food, like the Bojangles sponsorships we're seeing and everything. Well, I
DJ
guess not
Uiagalelei,
sponsorship.
really
or whatever.
interesting sponsorships.
But-
Dr. Pepper and Bojangles.
Oh,
yeah.
he's eating good.
Yeah.
I'm saying he
I'm
looks
jealous.
over and he
I'm
says,
gonna
he says, oh, those guys, I'll give you half of that too.
I
I'm
am
like, "Cool."
guaranteeing DJ Uiagalelei is not consuming Dr. Pepper or Bojangles on a regular basis.
Not on a regular basis.
I think Clemson has that diet pretty tight.
I think you could fit in some Bojangles,
Oh, no,
maybe
you can
not.
fit in some
I don't
Maybe
know.
not
He's
Dr.
kind of got that Ben
Pepper, though.
Roethlisberger body where if you start
Yeah.
leaning towards the Bojangle side a little too much, all of a sudden he
Understandable.
might lose a step.
Hey, if he could be Big Ben, he'll take that any day of the week, though.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah,
But they like to run
definitely.
him a little bit. And
Right.
as Dan Levitar likes to joke, Ben Roethlisberger looks like a skyscraper when he runs. So
Can't quite be. You got to be somewhere in between Cam and Ben Roethlisberger. You can't be both, right?
I don't know if anybody's going to be Cam. That's
I don't think anyone ever again is going to be Cam. No, not at all. But maybe
I
Junior.
mean, he has a body build, though, kind of like Cam, though.
That's what
Not
Yeah,
all the way
yeah.
there, though.
That's what I'm
No,
saying.
all the
He's-
way.
I
But
think
that's
he's
what I
actually-
mean, though. There's a big difference
I
between
think
those two guys.
bigger than Cam,
Uh-huh.
but he doesn't move like Cam.
No,
Right.
he doesn't
Like
move
he,
like
I think
him,
he
though.
has a bigger arm than Cam, but he doesn't move like
He
Cam.
don't move like him, yeah.
Cam run like Tavon Austin in the open field, but he's
Yeah.
6'4", 250 pounds.
I mean, he can lay down the shoulder. He can
Like, I mean,
man.
I love
think
him
about
in
the guys he
college.
was juking out, like Patrick Peterson and Eric Reed and guys like that. Like
That's what I'm saying. Like
outrunning those guys in the open field. Sorry, look, if you guys say
For
Cam
sure.
Newton and you want to start talking about Cam Newton, I'm
No,
going to
dude,
go off on a
I'm
tangent
right there.
every single
No,
time.
Yeah,
I love
I'm
Cam
right there
Newton.
with you
That,
because I'm-
that year in Auburn,
exactly. I'm
Lord,
saying
yeah.
it's so you can appreciate. I said this the other day about something too. You can appreciate his year at Auburn to the highest percentage, and you still don't appreciate it enough. Like people talk about Tim Tebow and talk about like the year Joe Burrow had all the
That's
time.
how I qualified it. Tim
Mm.
Tebow is the greatest just off of
Yeah.
his accomplishments.
Right,
Cam
right.
Newton's the best college quarterback ever.
Absolutely, and people automatically like I guess recency bias or because he did it more with his arm. I don't know. Everyone was talking about
Yeah.
Joe Burrow with that. I'm like, no, dude, go back and compare that
Give
side
Cam
to side
Newton,
with Cam
give
Newton.
Cam Newton
Lamar
NFL running.
Chase, Justin
yeah,
Jefferson,
give Cam Newton
all them
NFL running
guys.
back, NFL offensive lineman, and
Goodness gracious,
3 NFL wide receivers:
Yeah.
Terrence Marshall, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase.
Yeah,
they'd be
and
scoring
the
80.
best
every
quarterback in
game.
college football.
No, that's my favorite stat. And we'll go to break. No other Auburn offensive player from
Got
that
drafted.
2010 not got drafted. Cam
Played in
took
the
a
NFL.
snap in the NFL.
Mhm.
It was just we're gonna plug Cam Newton into a mediocre offense, and all of a sudden we're the best team in college football.
Yeah, and no one can stop us.
Nothing.
Alabama might stop us for a half, but not the
They
second
were
half.
up 24-0.
Yeah,
Yes.
24-0.
Philip Lutzenkirchen
Cam-
catching that last touchdown.
Cam.
We got to take a break. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. Big show coming up today on 3 and Out. The guys will catch up with Brooks Austin from Dogs Daily on SI.com. We'll also hear from Doc Herbert from the Platinum Sombrero podcast. Big weekend for the Braves as they sweep the Nationals and now sit alone in first place in the NL East. Guys, Cam, you recently started here in a full-time role. Would you say your first day on the job was anywhere near the first day on the job that Tyler Gilbert has? You know who Tyler Gilbert is, Cam?
No.
He is a pitcher for the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, no hitter. Yeah, I did see that.
His first major league appearance.
That's big, man.
Like,
That's big.
just, stepping up major leagues. What's up?
Incredible.
Welcome. Like, has anybody ever had a better first day on the job?
I mean,
Like, you work at a software company
right.
and you walk in and you program the hell out of some software.
That's not
Even
better
then,
than a
what do you
no-hitter.
get? Like, hey, great job, buddy. And then, I mean,
You're not making baseball
you
money,
might get
so
that from your boss.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking about performance level.
no,
Like, no hitter.
that's pretty tough.
it's pretty great.
I got to
mean,
imagine, because these are some of my favorite people in the world, I got to imagine there's been some cooks who've just
Mhm.
gone in and just like sent out banger after banger after banger. And Mills like
Right.
just didn't miss. They were just in the zone. Nothing got sent back. All the plates were clean.
Food
all
was
their-
hot.
all their
Oh, yeah.
waiters and waitresses got some great tips that night, I'm sure. But
Mhm.
I mean, at the end of it, what do they get? Just the satisfaction of knowing
Yeah,
they did a great
And
job.
hopefully a pay raise.
Hopefully, yeah.
So those are some of my heroes
know.
out there. But again, big show coming up today on 3 and Out. A lot of Falcons and Jags talk. We'll maybe, I don't know, former Florida tight end Ben Troop will have some interesting thoughts on current Florida tight end Tim Tebow. See what Ben thought.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what Ben thought about old Tim Tebow's performance there in his NFL debut as a tight end. Just didn't go too well. If you missed any portion of the show, check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, ESPNCoastal.com as well. Immediately following 3 and Out today, the Danny Britt Show will make its premiere for this season as the Cadets. We're going to play coming up this Friday, but had to reschedule that Burke County game. So now they'll kick off their season coming up on the 27th. Again, 3 and Out coming up next on ESPN Radio.